Welcome to the Cincy Postcast presented by LASIK, where better vision equals better calls. And that is a very real thing, by the way. Go to LASIK.com/thepostcincy for $1,100 off your LASIK procedure. If you're thinking about it, check it out, okay? Go check them out. But before we get started with today's episode, I also get to tell you about our great friends over at Streetside Brewery. They are doing some amazing stuff over at Streetside. We are so happy to be working with them. You will hear it in this episode. Chief and I, unannounced, not pre-planned, we went ahead and met up at Streetside because that is just the best place to watch these games. Go check them out on the east side of Cincinnati, the Columbia-Tusculum neighborhood. It's a really, really good time. It's a fun place. They've got good food there. They've got amazing beer. Have I mentioned that yet? Amazing beer. You got to check them out. They're always doing special events, and I got to tell you, the one coming up in just a couple of days is the one you want to check out. Sabra Day. This is their world famous Sabra hazy IPA and a whole bunch of varieties. You know what day it's going to be on. It's on 420. Okay. They've got the original Sabra. They've got the Sabra Down Under. They got a triple hop version. They got a citrus one. They got the imperial one. You can get a 4-pack there on 420. You'll also get a specialty lighter and sticker with the purchase of any of those packs. Come on. What more are you looking for here? It's a really good deal. It's a really good beer. And that's a very funny promotion. You should be supporting Streetside because we love them and because they sponsored this episode and so many other episodes of the Postcast. And on today's episode, we get to talk about a win. That is great. I love being able to talk about a win. A 1-0 win, but a Dado Valenzuela goal. How fun is that? How concerned should we be about the offense? How concerned should we be about this team? Only beating DC United 1-0. Fun champagne problems to talk about. In part 2, it is Thomas Muller to FC Cincinnati. We're taking it seriously for a second. And where would he fit? What would this team look like if Thomas Muller did, in fact, show up? In part 3, it is Patreon questions. And I got to say, I appreciate you bearing with my audio quality in this episode. And so far, I am traveling for a funeral. Shouts to Early Spradlin. And the whole Spradlin family. We are deep down here in Kentucky to celebrate his life. So, thank you for bearing with the audio. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. And on with the show. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I am joined once again by two gentlemen who are ready to discuss the FC, joined by the Chief, but maybe more exciting, joined by Grayson. Grayson, it's been a while since you and I have been on a pod together.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
I mean, you can always leave. There is nothing keeping you here.
Yeah, I forget what was the NBA player that tweeted, I don't understand how someone gets cyberbullied. Just like close the phone. It's like nothing's stopping you from logging off the podcast. Like, you do not have to be with your tormentors if you don't choose to.
Correct. Oh God. As we were discussing before hitting the record button, I am recording this from the Daniel Boone National Forest at the Cumberland Falls Lodge here at the state park. I think it's actually a federal park here deep down in Kentucky. Chief, does it look like I am either a hostage or about to be mauled by a bear? What's the situation on your end?
It's weirdly lit right now where you can very clearly tell that you're outdoors. So
Yes.
it just appears rustic. I don't know that you seem like you're a hostage or anything like that.
Good.
There's just a rustic vibe going on right here.
I am clearly in some employees' like secret smoking spot. There are 2 places to put cigarette butts and 2 like very shaky wire chairs that I have commandeered for my workspace here.
It definitely looks like there should be a bottle of, we'll say well booze sitting next to you in this photo right here.
Was shocked there was not a bottle over here.
What's wild about this is that like I was not aware that you were going to be traveling because I watched the game with you last night at Street Side with no indication whatsoever that you were going someplace else.
It's a weird life I live. I was up in Tiffin, Ohio on Friday. I'm down here on the Kentucky-Tennessee border today. I'll be there tomorrow. Or here tomorrow, but yeah, got to swing by Street Side. We had a nice little turnout there.
Impromptu. In fact, I don't think neither one of us communicated that we were going to be there to the other. We just both sort of happened to end up there. Thank you to all the 12s that came up to say hi.
Yes.
To express that they were excited to see us out, excited for the game. As we mentioned before we started recording too, we did have to explain to one of them that Grayson does actually go skiing and he is actually out of town a lot. He doesn't just hate us. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, the second part isn't related necessarily to the first part.
That's exactly true. It's a whole different conversation.
Fair enough. Actually, just to steal one Patreon question here out of order, it felt topical. PW asks, just how much PTO does the postcast offer its hosts? It's a good question. It's one of those. The Post is definitely one of those like toxic places where it's you get as much as you want. You use as much as you feel is appropriate for your salary, for your role, and how much work you think you do around the office.
Sometimes if you use too much, you end up in a secret employee smoking spot in a national park. Or like I was thinking of all the dumb places I've recorded episodes from, like a business center of a hotel in Ireland, the lobby of another hotel in Asheville as people were walking in and out staring and wondering why this person was sitting in a corner talking to his computer screen for no reason.
Chief, I still have in the editing software here a preset called Chief Hotel. And for whatever reason, these settings worked really well when you were recording at different hotels. So I may have to revisit Chief Hotel settings for myself.
For yourself tonight, yeah. The grind continues. And, Kevin, I can't fault you for wanting to be on this episode after the scintillating 1-0 victory. I do wonder if this had been a blowout loss, would you have been like, hey, you two are on your own tonight. You guys figure out what's going on.
It either would have been that or I would have grabbed somebody here to record for an hour and just be like, hey guys, whatever. I'm leaving you two alone. I'm just recording something here. I'm going to find out if the people of Kentucky have ever heard of the sport of soccer.
But no, Dado Valenzuela scores and you will find a spot at your lodge in order to take your victory lap in this one shining moment.
The second he scored, I knew like, all right, well, I got to bring like decent headphones and I got to make sure I've got a recording set up because I have to be here for the Dado Valenzuela episode.
So keep that in mind as you listen to this game recap, that there was nothing that was going to stop Kevin from lording over the fact that he has been a Valenzuela believer this entire time. I
feel vindicated. I feel like people being surprised, I don't think have just been listening to me. I think that's what it is. That was, I'd say, Lucho-esque, but now I think we are forced to wonder, was Lucho doing a Dado impression his whole time here? Something to think about.
Who is this the bigger weekend for? Dado stands or Rory stands?
I
I'm going to say Dado only because Rory tried to blow it, 3 or 4 times?
Multiple times, yeah.
So, I mean, you got your entertainment dollars worth with watching Rory, but I don't feel like he filled you with confidence on Sunday.
No, that was it wasn't him. It was just the CPU cheating in order to bring him. That was the blue shell hitting him multiple times over the course of his golf round.
I love that. It's not a handicap that you're playing with or even the par of a given course. It's that if your like hot meter is going up too high, they bring out the industrial big ass fans and just start blowing air currents across the green.
If there's one place that could afford to do that and have the secret technology, it is Augusta National Golf Club. Like, those people they're one step above cultists there.
Like, you think they're piping in bird music, or bird noises, but what's actually happening is that's the whistle from the fans that is blowing the air on the green.
Or no, they have like a secret underground lair where birds are kept in captivity and forced to make noises, bred for the specific purpose of making noise, but not contributing any distraction on the course itself.
It is still so funny to me that they got busted because they used a bird that doesn't live there. Some bird watching nerd was like, wait a second. These are tropical birds.
That's a white-nosed warbler. And of course they're not native to Georgia, you fools.
But I say, more fake noise, right? Like, I firmly believe and appreciate that college basketball, especially the NCAA tournament, they're pumping in like fake squeaking sneaker noises. Like, that is the aesthetic of watching the game. You have to have that.
Right. What noises do they need to pump into these MLS broadcasts to spice them up?
Fans.
Zing.
Got them.
Pro-rel.
Yeah, can you pipe in pro-rel into the broadcast?
I don't even know what that would sound like, but they would still lead to a 1-hour podcast from World Soccer Talk.
You know what I would love to hear is like, because you can hear it sometimes in poorly attended baseball stadiums. I want to hear like kitschy beer vendors and hot dog vendors yelling like stupid things on the sidelines trying to sell their stuff.
Yeah, you used to back in the day when the Reds sucked. There was like one beer vendor who would yodel as he was selling beer. He would stretch out the cold, like the ice cold, and like cold would go on for 25 seconds, and then he would end it with just beer. And like the fans would always pop for this, but you could hear that guy in the background of a ton of really, really shitty mid-2000s Reds games, especially on the radio.
That always played. Like, people in the audience always went nuts for that. Like, and it would be a game, like it would be his own personal game of like how long he could hold the word cold and how short he could make the word beer.
Yeah.
And I swear to God that this guy also occasionally did some FC games in Nippert. I swear he did.
Oh.
Well, there was the other guy that I liked. So that was the I'm going to yodel and stretch out the cold hard. There was another guy who would just shout whatever he was selling. Like, it was like almost like Tourette's. Like, just yell, peanuts, beer. And it was just like, what the hell is this guy? But again, just a beer vendor with a little bit of character. That would really spice up the MLS broadcasts.
I think that would be good. I think you could traumatize some Reds fans by just piping in fake woos. Bring back the woo.
Bring back the woo. No, God, no.
It would be so funny because it would become like discourse for people who only watch the games at home. Like, oh my God, the woos are terrible. And everybody in the stadium's like, I didn't hear a single woo. What are you talking about?
No. Cut this. I don't even want the thought out there that the woo comes to TQL Stadium. No, I refuse. No.
What if they piped in like interesting commentary?
On-site or off-site?
Oh, good question.
It is funny watching on social media places that are like, I think like real media outlets suddenly discover that some of the commentary has been off-site? Like, are these teams that have not had their games done off-site yet? Like, I thought it was pretty open from MLS that they were going to be doing a lot of games not on site this year.
It is very weird that like people are only just now catching on. It does feel like MLS, I think they did this. I think they announced it early that they were going to be doing this and then didn't do it for at least like the first 3 weeks and then started introducing it. And so I think they might have played it just slow enough that people either forgot or, it's going to take them till week 8, 9, 10 to encounter it for the first time.
What they should have done was just, put them on site to start and then announce, due to the tariffs that have been imposed by the White House, we are no longer able to provide in-person commentary, and then just leave it to the rest of the world to figure out what that means.
Could you have pro rel for commentators? And if you perform poorly, you get stuck in the office. But the better you perform, the more on-site opportunities you get. And then if you crack into like the top 3 or 4, you actually get to pick your assignment. And that's how you get on like the messy games.
Here's a question. How long would it take if unannounced, you just didn't have commentators for a game? How long do you think it would take for somebody to like actually publicly like complain about it or ask what's going on with that?
So if there was just dead silence in the match?
Yeah.
5 minutes?
You think so?
Yeah. I feel like, especially I think that it would be less noticeable if they started the match and then stopped after 10 minutes.
That would be really funny.
Because I think at the start, people would think like something's going on here.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And once you're into the game, you're just like,
you're watching the game.
Right.
And then 30 minutes later, you're like, wait.
Nobody said anything for a while. I feel like some of the CCL matches were like that, where it's just one guy. I feel like he might have just like every 5 minutes had to switch over to another game. And so you go a couple of minutes without hearing from anybody.
Well, not to always bring it back to the Reds, but that was like a hallmark of the Joe Nuxall era of calling Reds broadcasts, where you would like flip on the Reds game and it would just be dead air. And you'd wonder, like, is something wrong? Did Joe die in the booth? And then all of a sudden he'd come back in with a 2-1. Swing and a miss.
You know what they should do every week? They should have one game that is like old school style, where a guy is just reading like a ticker.
Yes.
And announcing off a ticker and doing like sound effects in the radio booth.
There appears to be a horse walking onto the field now. It's like 2 coconuts banged together.
Crowd's not happy with that call.
The people are leaving. all the shoes flopping away. I love that. I was thinking, and this is incredibly self-serving because I feel like we'd be in a position to potentially, engage if this were to come about. But I would love like a supporters track. Like, I want to be able to hear like the raw, uncut, unfiltered thoughts of like 3 or 4 like podcasters or whatever, or beat writers talking about the game, because they'll know the inside jokes.
You know why this should exist? Because I would watch the hell out of this after big wins from the other team's perspective, like just reveling in the misery of whoever it is that we just beat.
Think of the memes. And look, Apple is in a position to try weird stuff like this. Like, this is your opportunity. So yeah, absolutely. Go wild with it. Have fun with it.
Yeah. I would like that idea. One. I think that's a good idea. I'm just wondering though, if it would actually be more interesting to watch that, or like, I always like it when this seems to happen at like CCL games a lot, where like the camera is like next to like one loudmouth fan and you just hear like one dude's commentary like the whole time.
That could be. So I like the commentator-less idea, but I also want to be able to hear like the in-stadium PA, right? Like I want to know like who got the yellow card. Like that's like the one time where the commentary is like genuinely helpful. It's like who got the yellow card or who may be warming up as a substitute that you can't see. But then like then let me pick like the Bailey microphone. I just want to hear the unhinged shit from the drummers the whole time or whatever.
It would be a good idea to also like to set it up like the Manning cast, where it's just you're watching the game and it's like there's whoever it is the supporters are in like their little their headspace boxes, like they're on Zoom or whatever. So you can actually see them die in real time when like backbreaking goals get scored. Like, can you imagine being on the call for this in the Eastern Conference final with Columbus a couple years ago?
Like, it would be so funny because I think what would happen at that moment is when they score what goes on to be the winner is that it would just be like the three of us getting up and leaving.
Or like everyone just looking down on their phones, like dead silence.
Just weeping. Like that would be great if you got to experience it from the other side.
Like your wife or your girlfriend coming in to pat you on the shoulder like it's gonna be okay. This is not the end of the world. Like,
concerned family coming in to hug you. Yes.
Right. Someone go, it's all fun and games till someone goes full R. Bud Dwyer live on the air during one of these.
Oh my God. So yeah, free ideas, Apple, MLS, you can have a couple of them. But man, how about this team, huh? How about the FC?
Usually when we delay talking about the game this long, it's because something horrible happened. This actually... All right, I'll start out with this.
Please.
Big picture before we get into the lineups.
Yep.
A win is a win. Wins are good. 3 points are good. Looking at the table right now, things are pretty good for the FC. Is a 1-0 victory versus DC satisfying, though? Like, is this where the team needs to be? Because remember, we talked more about this on the World's Game this week. San Jose absolutely trucked DC. Now, granted, it was out in California. This is a road game. But given everything that's gone on with DC this year, are we satisfied with a 1-0 victory for the FC?
No, and I don't think you can be. This is kind of like the weirdness of this team right now. And just to be like the optimistic one, I am getting 2023 flashbacks of like constant 1-0 victories, waiting for them to crush a team. It never quite comes. But then like 2 months in, you go, oh, hey, we haven't lost in a while. Like this team is stringing together some results. This is fun. Damon Gumber wrote up the post-match recap here, had some quotes from Pat Noonan. The entire piece leads off with, well, certainly not our strongest performance. That was Noonan's review. And I have to agree, like this is a team that we should have beat by much more.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to know the things that you know about DC going into this game, that they are now sitting 13th in the table. They have given up, I believe, at this point, a league leading or a conference leading 18 goals.
Yeah.
So they have the most porous defense. And again, part of that's swayed by this early in the season. You give up a 6-1 result. That's going to screw a lot of things up. But they've got the most porous defense in, I think, the entirety of MLS with 18 goals allowed. And I guess the headline story coming out of this game is we once again do not know what the state of this offense is.
Yeah.
Or where this offense is going. And we're looking for sort of signposts along the road that will lead us to believe that this offense has something to offer this year. And we're waiting for that breakout moment like you were talking about. And I was hoping that we might see it in this game, given how bad DC is. But we're once again in a position of only scoring 1 goal. really not threatening a lot for a second goal. There weren't, great opportunities that were missed. The second half was kind of a lot of back foot defending for the most part. The XG is not flattering to the FC after this match.
Yeah.
And, but then, you balance it on the other half with this team, once again, was missing a ton of pieces from the starting lineup. So I don't know. Like, you can't, on one hand, you want to beat a team like DC by a bigger margin.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's a road win with, again, a shorthanded, non-first choice lineup. And there's a limit, I guess, on how mad you can be that you ground through a result with not your best personnel on the field.
Yeah, and it's back-to-back weeks where they're 1-0 victories, and they're victories, and that's great, but their goals are coming from not the key pieces. It's Valenzuela and Santos. Now, this is the good and the bad, right? It's great that they are getting contributions from guys that you didn't expect to rely on this season, and they're scoring goals and we're getting results, and that's great. That's a sign of a good team. It's a sign of a deep team. But you're not getting goals from Denke. You're not getting goals from Evander. He's not available. You're not getting goals from Orishano. You're not even getting the occasional goal from Buka at this point. It's a very weird situation with the offense where the unusual suspects are getting these results. It's not Denke bailing this team out. And I think that's bad.
Yeah. Let's go through the lineups, and then I think part of this will sort itself out a little bit.
Yeah. So in goal, the ever-present Roman Celentano in goal. Your back three was Gilberto Flores, Nick Haglund, Miles Robinson, that was left to right, Lucas Engel, your left wing back, DeAndre Yedlin, your right wing back. It was Buka and Anunga as your defensive midfielders, with an attacking trio of Dado Valenzuela, Luca Orishano, and ahead of them, Kevin Denke. So no Wobodo, no Evander, no Miazga, no Hadebi. There's a lot of missing pieces. So there's reason to be optimistic about a victory, a road victory, even against a bad team. I mean, we saw Toronto go on the road to Miami and get a draw. Like, it happens in this league. But man, for what we thought we were getting with this team, disappointing.
I think that the hardest part, and it's kind of similar to what we talked about last week, is that Evander not being in this team makes it insanely hard to criticize or evaluate the performance of this team. And he is the DP attacking mid. He's the guy that we spent $12 million for, and we're told that he would fix the Lucho hole in the lineup. Yeah. And he might well end up doing that. But, what the old saying, the number one ability is availability. And he has not been available now. I don't think he's trained since the Nashville match. And I want to hear something from Pat Noonan this week about this before we even get into the game. I want to know what's the timeline on Evander, because all we've heard at this point is that it's a pain management issue, which to me is a weird way of throwing your player under the bus and saying he needs to tough it out.
I thought he did that too. And again, it could be reading into the words too much, but I kind of got the sense with the Miazga injury that Noonan was implying that Matt could have been back earlier, but he was holding himself back in a way. Because he kept saying like, oh, when he feels comfortable, things of that nature, like that there's a mental aspect to it, you know? Right. And I mean, it's not unfair though to say, if the player feels pain and says he feels pain, you have to take his word for it.
No, 100%.
Or if a player, if the tests or whatever say the leg is fine, but the player feels tightness or the player feels weakness,
right?
You have to take their word for it and just trust the player to an extent. And so, like, I picked up on the same stuff as you, Chief. I'm just not sure that it's intended to come across that way.
Which is it subconscious though?
I would hope that, because he's brand new on the team, and nothing has given any indication that Evander would be a player that would dog it or that would not want to be playing or would not want to be out there. There's no indication of that. It's the phrasing leads one to wonder that. So to me, what I would like more of is I'd like more specificity on what Evander's situation is, what his return to play timeline looks like, and if there's a question if this is more serious than it really is. Like, if he is still, if there's nothing wrong with him, but he's still in pain, at what point do you go and say, maybe we need to get him looked at by somebody else because there's obviously something going on here? Like, sure. Because it's concerning now to me that it has now been 2 weeks that he hasn't trained after what was reported as, and everyone has said this, is that it is not a tear. It is not there's no structural damage with his knee. So at some point, something has to break in this situation.
Yeah.
Hopefully not his knee.
Hopefully not his knee.
Yeah. And I hear you with the, Evander, $12 million player, supposed to be the Lucho replacement and whatever, but they had a $16 million player on the field.
Yeah.
And I know he's not like running the offense or like going to be playing the 10 position or whatever. But man, if you got a $16 million player and you also need Evander for him to do anything in MLS, I don't think you have a $16 million player.
Yeah. You have a $30 million player.
I'll push back on that. I'm not mad at Denke.
I'm not mad at Denke either.
And
but there does come a point in time where you have to, like, they're going to need stuff from him. Like, Benteke seemed more active in the game than Denke. And Benteke also didn't have Evander.
That's true. But if you watch this game, DC, their entire game plan was move heaven and earth to put the ball onto Benteke, get the ball to Benteke, cross the ball to Benteke, pass the ball to Benteke, whatever you can do to get him as many touches in the opposing area as possible, they were going to do. It didn't matter if there were 3 guys draped all over him. Get the ball to Benteke. That was the game plan. I don't sense a commitment to get the ball to Denke from FC Cincinnati. I don't.
Okay, but why not?
I don't understand. I don't know. But
shouldn't there be a commitment to get the ball to Denke?
There absolutely should. That's part of the deal that I was about to say, is that they bought a $16 million target man striker, or a striker that needs service at the very least.
Yeah.
He is not going to create his own offense. He is not a creative player off the dribble. He's not going to dribble around 5 or 6 people in order to score a goal. He needs service in dangerous areas, and there just does not seem to be a commitment from this team to get service to Denke. And the biggest culprits of that are Luca Orishano and Pavel Buka. Like, they are just not finding Denke when they have the ball. I'll throw Lucas Engel in there too. I've seen.
I was going to say, you got to throw the wingbacks into there. I'd throw both wingbacks into there.
Well, I would throw Yedlin in, but Yedlin never goes forward enough to even make himself available as part of the offense.
Yeah, but that's your wide serve. That's the way the team is built. The wingbacks are your wide service,
and they're not getting it. Like, Engel has shown at least some willingness to try and find Denke on crosses, but that's weeks ago, and we're just not seeing it enough. We are not seeing dangerous balls played into the 18-yard box for Denke. And you look at his numbers on this, I think he has 1 touch in the opponent's 18-yard box. That's not a commitment to getting service to him. Like, you've got to get him multiple touches with the ball in the opponent's box, because what you've seen from Denke, or what I've seen at least, is that when he gets the ball at his feet, he does dangerous things. Like, he can turn and fire a snapshot. He can make one guy miss and muscle around someone to take a shot. But he can't do that if no one is ever making an effort to get the ball to him. And
he does have that ability to make that quick move and get a quick shot off. And if you get him the ball, 4, 5, 6 times in the 18, you got a pretty good chance of at least one of those coming off. But if you get him the ball one time, you're putting a lot of pressure on that one, at that one chance or that one touch, not even chance, right? That one touch coming off.
Like, if you compare the two shots on target, Benteke had 1 of his 7 shots. Denke got 1 shot the entire game. Denke had 1 touch inside of the opponent's box.
Benteke had 11.
11. Like, you've got to be feeding this guy. And if you make him the focus of the attack and all of the effort is to get the ball to him, 1, he is genuinely talented enough that if you feed him, he will score. But 2, it frees up everybody else's abilities. Like, what was funny with playing DC is that their entire game plan is around Benteke. If any of the other guys could score, they would have had 4 or 5 goals in this game.
So, and the way I feel about not having Evander is, and first of all, it's not like Evander was getting Denke like a million chances a game.
Right.
No, but we were told the reason why he wasn't is that this mystical gelling hasn't happened between the two of them. So to me, the only way forward is they've got to push through. This is the lineup. So every minute Evander isn't playing and isn't training is another minute longer. We're going to have to wait until gelling occurs, whatever the hell that means.
And I don't. And so with Evander, right? Like, you don't pay you pay $12 million to a player like Evander to do things that other players can't, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
To raise the ceiling of your attack, to bring moments of magic, to do these free kicks that we've seen, right? Like, we have seen the kinds of things that you pay $12 million to Evander or for Evander to do. It shouldn't cost you $12 million to get the ball to your striker.
Right.
Like, pass the ball to the striker should not cost $12 million.
DC.
That's basic. Like, other teams can get the ball to their striker without Evander on the field. And so, like, I do think that we're getting something out of our system, and we should maybe chill a little bit forward. But it is like I don't know if it's like if I'm Denke, if I'm ownership, I'm like, you guys are messing around with my money.
Yeah.
like Denke, it's like, I came here because you guys were generating a lot of chances to the striker and they weren't finishing it, and I do that, and I'm not getting chances. And if I'm ownership, I'm like, why do we pay $16 million to a guy who, unless there's another $12 million player on the field, we can't score any goals or generate any shots?
You know, it's funny
like,
too.
why am I giving you this budget for these players if you're not getting anything out of them? Unless, like, and I'm not even going to do the unless, because when we've had all the players available on offense, they still haven't. And again, the gel, the get it together, the schedule congestion, early season, various injuries and things. But there is going to be a period of time when these excuses are gone.
Yeah.
And you will need to see, $30 million on the field offensively. And like, there does need to be a period of time where if you only have Denke and not Evander, you still look dangerous.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even going to say it's not fair. It is fair. Like, it's the second most money anybody's ever spent on a player in this league in the history of the league.
Yeah.
You have to have some idea for getting production out of them even when you don't have another near record-setting player, you just have 10 TAM players on the field with him.
Right.
You just have Luca Orishano.
You know, if you look at the numbers, Benteke, 26 touches. Denke, 36 touches. What that tells me is that the system that they're deploying, how they are using Denke, it's not effective.
Yeah.
That his touches are coming in the wrong places. And you bought this guy for a reason. You bought this guy to, in all of his highlights, every single one of them. We all watched him when they
score
sent him.
goals.
What'd you say? You bought him to score goals. But
period.
you bought him to score a specific type of goal because that's what he does best. He does best when he gets the ball in dangerous areas, and then he uses his ability to make that moment of magic that finishes things off. And what they're asking him to do in this offense, hold up play, you didn't buy him to do hold up play. It's like Pat Noonan called out the hold up play in his press conference. I'm sorry, man. Then there's a disconnect between the GM and the coach as to what you bought a striker to do, because he is not a hold up play striker. He can do it a little bit, but he's not a big 6'2", giant body, wide frame guy that you're thinking of when you're thinking of a target man striker.
He is actually, I actually think he's like pretty good at it.
He is, but
not this game. Well, I'm not saying it's the best way to use him,
right?
But you look at like it was more I think maybe the last game where it was like when he received a pass from Roman or from one of the center backs that was like long.
Yeah,
the ball stuck to him.
Yeah.
You know,
he's talented. Like he's really, really talented, but they're not deploying him in the optimal way, and the people aren't finding him in dangerous spots. And it's any number of problems. Like, look, I know we're bitching a lot for a win, but like,
yeah, we did win this game. In case somebody didn't watch the game and only listen to this,
we did win the game, and we're I think
champagne
second on points in the East right now.
Right.
Yes, we are fourth in the Shield race. Yes,
those are all statements that sound like lies, right, based on like what you see and based on like goal difference and whatnot. And you can like caveat all this stuff, right? Like the wins have been against bad teams, and then the losses that they've had, they've gotten their ass kicked.
Right.
You know, and
barely scraping by versus bad teams. Like they're not like they're not winning dominant. And
but they are sitting pretty if the gel happens.
That's
right?
the thing.
Because it is like you haven't dropped that many points.
You've picked up points on the
when
road.
you were bad.
Right.
And they've been really good at home. I think still undefeated at home.
I believe so.
Yes.
Only dropped 2 points at home, that tie versus Atlanta.
Yeah. The losses are against Philly and Charlotte.
Yeah,
Philly and Charlotte on the road.
Yeah.
So like, you know, they're sitting real nice in the standings for a team that, if true, right, is getting healthy.
Yeah.
Is gelling. Is getting ready to maybe in May, you know, we keep pushing it back a month, but maybe in May, right, start like going on a tear.
Right. Maybe adding veteran European talent this summer.
Maybe.
Stay tuned.
But so like I'm as hard on them for what they've done so far, I think, as anybody, at least in my feels.
Yeah.
But man, they've survived. Like they've survived these early season injuries. They've survived having no center backs for some of these games.
Yeah.
You know,
literally no center backs.
So far have survived missing a Vander for a couple of games. You hope that one in particular doesn't continue. But Haglund has been back and looked really good.
Yeah.
You know, they had 3 center backs starting this game for the first time in God knows how long. And they had Matt Miazga come off the bench.
Oh,
you know, and you got to feel good about that.
So let's talk about Nick Haglund. That's what I want to talk about first.
Oh, please.
Let's pivot to positive things. Nick Haglund just absolutely put Christian Benteke in the contraption. Just 90 plus minutes of hell.
Yes.
Defense, Shaka Smart would be proud of in terms of pesky, annoying, physical. Every place you go to, you will see me lurking like a Secret Service member in the District of Columbia. It was incredible to watch. It harkened back to the match he played against Zlatan, where he absolutely frustrated the hell out of one of the greatest players of all time.
Yep.
Well, you know, Benteke has never scored against us.
Yes. And there's a reason. His name is Nick Hagelin and Matt Miazga.
Hagelin has handled Benteke before. Hagelin always handles like a big physical striker.
Yeah.
Like an aerial threat kind of striker. It's the guys, it's the attackers that put the ball on the ground.
The pace merchants.
The guys who are making moves in the box that get him. It's like, you know, even like somebody like Mihailovic, you know, can beat Nick 1v1 because he's playing, you know, with the ball on his feet. But these physical guys, you know, Hagelin's a horse.
Yeah. He played incredibly effectively. Benteke was frustrated as hell this game.
Yeah.
Like
that was great to see.
He was like, in addition to being on him on the field, Nick was buried between like 4 inches deep in Benteke's head and just occupying a space that he called his own. Got away with a couple of fouls that I'm happy weren't officiated the way that I have seen in the past. There was one in particular where he, if Benteke would have gone to ground after a grab happened, I've seen that called against us. Yep. I always hate it when the guy who makes a living being I'm stronger, tougher, and bigger than you tries to flop his way into a PK, but neither here nor there. Love Nick, though. Nick was all over the field. The center backs in general were great. Miles had at least one insane run where he was beaten by 3 or 4 steps and covered and made the ground up over the course of 2 seconds at most, and then beat the attacker to the ball, which that's humiliating film for whoever that was from DC on Monday.
It was Benteke, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was Benteke. It might have been. I don't think it was. I think it was somebody else.
I guess it was Peglo, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah,
it was a great run and recovery from Miles.
Yeah, and stuffed the attack twice on that one. Chief, to your Hagelin praise, I think there was no greater praise than this moment, which is Miazga came into the match and Nick stayed as the central center back, and Miazga was played on the right, and that was just like, that was cool. It's not like Nick could be knocked down a peg. It's
clear. It's clear the idea was Hagelin is our Benteke killer.
Yeah. You know what that moment felt like? The manager leaving the starter in to go finish the game. That's Terry Francona telling Hunter Green, this last inning is yours. Like you have handled Benteke this entire game. Go finish what you started right here, young man.
Kind of reminds me like in the NBA where it's like, you know, Jason Collins is like the Shaq stopper.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's not like a regular starter. He's not like anybody that you would say is like one of the stars of the team based on talent, but like
he's got this guy's number.
He's got this guy's number.
Yeah.
I hope you kind of just shut me down like immediately on this. But is it worrisome at all that like between Flores, Miles, and Hagelin was like clearly like the star of the defense?
No, I don't think it's worrisome. I think that it's just, I think it goes to your point, is that when there is a big physical target man striker, that just is a Nick Hagelin specialty. He's a giant killer. And that there are other players like that run back that Miles snuffed out. Hagelin's not doing that. Like he's
nobody else.
Maybe
Flores. Maybe Flores has that in his game.
Maybe if Yerson gets a running start from the UK.
Yerson has
like 3 minutes. He gets over here and he makes that. But like he's going to need like a 3 to 5 minute warning since he's far away. But they all have different roles on the team, and versus a DC United team where their game plan was we have one plan, and we have one way forward. And if this guy doesn't score a goal, no one is scoring a goal. Yeah, Haglund is going to show out in that moment. But I thought the entire back line played effectively. I thought the entire back line did a good job. They were under siege because, the second half turned into another FC Cincinnati special of they are unable to beat the high press. They are unable to maintain possession. And wouldn't you know it, the midfield once again, with 3 center backs playing and 1 fewer player in the midfield, the team gets overrun in the midfield again, and they have to defend for dear life. The back line, I thought everybody held up, and that includes when Miazga came into this game.
Yeah, I just want to quickly acknowledge Flores and what he's done this year, because he has certainly looked shaky at moments and he's made some mistakes, but he's a U22 that rarely this team has just gone ahead. They purchased him, right? They bought his contract versus bringing him on loan. And, guy's a pro.
Yeah.
And they brought in somebody who it was out of ownership's pocket, cost more money than Ian Murphy, but comes in at a friendlier budget charge, particularly after Murphy's raise. And I think they got themselves an upgrade.
Yeah.
I think Flores is a pro. He's got a lot of different tools. And I think that his minutes are probably going to dwindle a little bit as like Miazga and maybe Hadebe, come back.
Yeah.
But man, that feels like it's a
tough choice is what he's made it for the third center back.
Yep.
He's made it a tough choice.
Good signing.
Yeah.
Like real good signing on a U22 deal.
I am deathly curious that when Miazga is 90 minutes match fit, who that third center back is going to be, because there are a lot of options, a lot of arguments you could make to say that Flores has been a better player than Hadebe has been so far.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a hot take at this point. But
Nick is going to earn some stars.
I was going to say that too. Like, Nick has been nothing but good since coming back from injury. Like, really good.
Yeah. It's a good problem to have.
Sure is.
And yeah, I'm glad you sang Flores' praises, because I've been a huge fan of him this year. I know some people are like weirdly down on him, and he certainly has a shaky moment here and there, but yeah, he's 22 years old. I think we should just encourage this team to keep trying out U22s. So if nothing else, it's good to see that. But yeah, he's been fantastic, especially these last few games. What has been worrying has been wingback play. And this had been a position of strength the last couple of years. It is certainly the piece of the system that Noonan relies on for his system. And it seems to be failing. And I got to be honest, I'm not entirely sure why. Like, I don't think it's because Engel and Yedlin are timid to attack. I think that is a foolish critique. But I don't know I don't know what's going on there. Do either of you have a hypothesis as to what's happening here?
It's worrisome because I think that Yedlin has been poor on balance this year. I think he has had moments of good play, but on balance, I think that Yedlin has been poor, might be strong. I'd say disappointing from what you would expect DeAndre Yedlin to offer this team. And Engel is the same way. Engel has pace. He has strength. I love the fact that Engel has stepped up and played out of position multiple times, playing center back when the team needed it to. But it just hasn't looked effective. And I'm curious how much of that is the way this midfield is constructed as well, and the way that the center backs have been this has been a patchwork center back line, because there have been times where it seemed like Yedlin has not wanted to push forward, offering cover, I think, to the back line. But once Miazga is back and starting and you have your first choice line, that sort of excuse goes out the window. The other thing too is that I do think that there's a problem that we're seeing with this team and its inability to possess and hold possession of the ball. And part of that is due to the fact that last night they're starting Brian Anunga. I think Anunga has played very well for what he is. Anunga is not a progressive passer. He is not a good passer at all. Not a progressive passer, not a good passer.
Well, I don't want to speculate on his politics, but yeah.
Right. but
thank you.
You know, he wasn't brought in here to be that. He was brought in here to be an Obi replacement or an Obi stopgap. When Obi's been on the field, Obi's passing has been poor. I think his passing has regressed the most of any of his talents that he's had.
Yep.
Evander hasn't been out there. So you're playing down another passer as well. And so I think that what they're looking to have with interplay between the midfield and the wingbacks as a way of moving the ball inside out, making those little triangles and passes where the wingbacks feed off to the midfielder, they continue to make the run. The midfielder either moves the ball centrally or looks to hit it to the wingback as he goes down into the corner. Just the midfield has been so shaky and so poor when it comes to passing that I think a lot of those opportunities are getting missed or they're not actually materializing in the first place.
So I think the best wingbacks that we've had have been pure out and out attackers.
Yeah.
Well, not even going to say, I'm not even qualify it. The best wingbacks that we've had have been pure attackers. Barreal, Orishano when he's been there, Assad, Arias. I know like Arias was a defender, but he was like a world-class, like attacking defender in Europe who, due to circumstances, found himself on our team. Right.
I'll throw Matarrita and Gutman in there. I know it's not Noonan, but I'll throw them in there as well.
But Engel and Yedlin are, especially Yedlin, they're more players who have played back their whole careers and more defenders.
Yeah.
And like Yedlin was attacking for a defender through his career, but played like primarily in a back four. And, you know, Yedlin, or not, I just said Yedlin, but Engel also may be more of a back four left back than although I think he's been better at wing back than Yedlin has been.
Yeah.
They may both be players who are better in a back four, even getting forward where they have another midfield player to interchange with, to play with, versus like being expected to shoulder a lot of the burden of advancing the ball out wide on their own.
Yeah.
And you've even seen a lot of times with our wingbacks, when they've played with a player, it was Lucho. Like Lucho exchanging with a wingback to advance the ball, and they haven't had that. And Evander isn't as high usage of a player, and I think that may be good. And there may be an opportunity to, especially with Miazga back, move to a back four and have another, I guess, you know, midfield or forward kind of player. You have more of a ball player on the field who can help take some of the pressure off of the wingbacks versus them being like kind of isolated.
Yeah.
But if we're good, if you do go to a back four, I think it raises the question of like, well, do we need Teenage Adebayo anymore? You know, but
right.
But just because it just feels like a lot of really good center backs to have if you only play two of them at a time.
Right.
But if we're going to use three center backs, which, you know, I think is a very positive way for the team to move forward, given the personnel that they have, if everybody's healthy. I am kind of thinking that Orishano should replace Yedlin at right wing back.
Either Orishano replaces Yedlin at right wing back, or you have to consider the possibility, I think.
Or Yuya Kubo when he comes back.
Or I think you have to consider the possibility of finding a replacement for Obi. You have to find someone who is like
more of an 8,
and someone that is not a black hole offensively with the ball. Because I think that if you're only going to play, with the number of midfielders that we're playing with, if you're going to play a back four and you're going to limit yourself in the midfield, everyone in the midfield needs to have the ability to move the ball. You don't have the luxury of having one person who is basically another center back that just plays further up the field, that doesn't have the ability to progressively move the ball or distribute the ball. And I'm with you. I don't think that this team's lineup is built to play in terms of where we've spent our resources. I don't think they've spent to play a back four. They've invested way too heavily in the center back room. But again, I think it's all one song. Like this team struggles with the press, and it struggles to possess. And the answer is always the same. And that's that there just aren't enough bodies on the field that are comfortable with the ball at their feet and that are good passers and that can move the ball around and move faster and pass the ball faster than the defense can react.
They struggle with the high press. They struggle to possess. It causes fans stress. They need to do more with less.
You're wearing not enough black to be speaking that way.
This slam poetry session is weirdly MLS centric. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Kevin, are we going to talk about your boy now?
I was waiting for this moment. Dado,
go take
Valenzuela.
Your victory lap. Talk about it.
Oh my God, I was happy to see the comments. I saw these comments from Carter on Carter's
play with finesse.
On Carter's feed that Dado early this season was injured. He said it hurt him to see the rest of the team out there playing and him unable to, and it sort of awoken some new determination in him. Pat Noonan said they've seen him mature this year. They were happy to reward him with the start, and boy, he came out hot in this game. He was distributing the ball very well. I thought he was playing quick. He was playing accurate passes. And then finally, we get the moment that I've been waiting for. I know Jonah's been waiting for. There's a handful of us out there on Dado Island. It is in the 29th minute where Dado picks up the ball, charges into the box, breaks the ankles of two center backs, has the patience to wait, curl it around the keeper. It was incredible. It was such a moment. Very earned for him. I was so annoyed that they did a VAR check. I have no idea what they were checking. I was so ready to revolt. Chief, you heard me at Streetside. I let out a guttural scream that I'm sure was concerning to anybody who was not paying attention to the game. And it was everything I ever wanted.
He, to quote Grayson, he was nice with it on that play.
Yeah.
That if you squinted, you don't want to close your eyes and miss the magic, but if you squinted, looked a little like our dear departed friend Lucho Acosta.
Sure did.
The tight fighting off one defender to maintain possession of the ball outside the 18, taking on multiple attackers, a step over, a quick touch from get the ball from one foot to the other, completely fakes a man out of his jock, and then a quick snapshot past the keeper. That's a great individual effort goal. Just fantastic. I was not aware he had that in him. I was not aware that he had that tool in the toolbox.
Now, again, it's his first start. It's, first goal of the year. He is 20 years old, right? So believe me, I don't want to get ahead of myself. But allow me to get ahead of myself.
Get ahead. Go off.
If he can be the reliable attacking depth piece on this team that Baird and Santos, sadly, unfortunately, haven't been up to this point in their Cincy tenure, then I think he changes some of the calculus on this team. it's still Evander and Denke's team. But if he can provide that thing that was always supposed to be there, it will help this team out tremendously. And I think raises the ceiling up a little bit higher for this team.
Yeah, I mean, he's purely additive because he's not a player who's dragging the team down with his contract or anything. So, if you don't get anything from him, it doesn't kill you.
Right.
But if this team wants, it makes it a lot easier for this team to do what it wants to do if it does get stuff from players like Dado.
Yeah.
And, given his age, like it's even now he still might have, even if he wasn't like panning out now, it still wouldn't necessarily mean he's not going to work out as a pro. But like it was a big boy play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not
he took a grown
fluky.
man on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like they won the ball on a press and he took it down and he like that was a man goal.
Yeah. What was great too is it wasn't even like, and I don't have the play in front of me, so maybe I'm misremembering this. So please correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of those moments with Lucho, you're screaming pass it because there's like two guys open at the top of the box. I don't think there was another option. I think genuinely like him weaving in and out of traffic and curling the ball was like the only way we were scoring on that play. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is a cool moment too, where like he could pick up the ball and put the game into his own hands or feet even. And
you're absolutely right on that. Like that was the one moment. That was the one opportunity. There wasn't another way out on that one. That was the only way forward on that. And again, it's the sad part is that's also a problem with this offense is that there wasn't another opportunity, that there's a turnover in the midfield. Dado gets the ball and, he's obviously the highest pressing, but no one's crashing the goal looking for a rebound or, a deflection.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of standing around hoping he's going to do something heroic. Dado, according to the stats, 4 touches in the opposition's box, more than Orishano, Denke, and I think, or more than Orishano, Denke, and Santos combined, I think.
Yeah, Santos had 2, I think.
So, not great. Not great that he is the only one forward like that. I'll give you credit, Kevin. You never stopped believing. I stopped believing. I am a known Dado non-believer. Now, does this change that? The answer is absolutely not. No, it was a one moment of individual brilliance. Yes. We're going to need to see more than that. But having said that,
but he starts the play winning a physical battle against a 27-year-old.
Oh yeah, it was
4 or 5 year MLS vet.
Yeah. No, he clowned some fools in this.
Yeah,
I would not be unhappy to see him get more minutes because obviously I think Baird has played effectively and done a lot of good things for this team.
Yeah,
but I'm interested in guys that put the ball in the back of the net because there ain't a lot of guys doing that right now.
Chief, I sent this screen capture to Jonah because I know he was also a big fan of his. Just going to say it. I'm not leaving Russell Cicerone Island as well. He has 2 goals and 1 assist and 5 starts in USL. A very high FOTMOB rating. I'm just saying, take a look. Take a look, Chris Albright. There may be cheap midfield depth out there. He is 30 years old now, and that makes me feel old. To me, he's still a baby face.
Oh, Lord.
You know what else was fun this game? Was the amount of times DC tried to score for us. If I didn't know any better, I'd say the defense had money on Cincinnati scoring a bunch of goals, and they were pissed they weren't getting them because, boy, were there some moments where they hung their goalkeeper out to dry that made me really miss Brenner's pressing.
Or Kelsey's pressing, for that matter. He got a couple of those last year, if I remember correctly. Were they doing it in honor of Matt Miazga, who was the last person to score an own goal prior to Alvis for FC Cincinnati? Like Alvis's own goal was he was at least trying to defend. Matt just passed the ball into the back of the net last year.
Right. they nearly had it, and that goal line clearance from the keeper was so close that like there was a brief second where I thought it actually went over, and then VAR was going to have to get involved.
Would there be a sadder VAR than double checking whether or not a back pass was put into the net?
Oh, that would be so sad. But I love to see that. That was good. It was good to see that the other team was doing that. Chief, I wasn't sure when I was going to fit this in, but you mentioned him. Kevin Kelsey is like tearing it up for Portland right now. Oh, no. 3 goals and I think an assist. Some websites are giving him an assist, some aren't. He's been real good this year, and it's just kind of annoying. I don't even know that he would fit in this team right now, but I'm just annoyed by it. I just thought I had to get that off my chest.
Goss theorem strikes again.
It really looks that way.
Sad. No, what you do is you trust that the evaluation you made to actually bring him over here was correct.
Yes.
And what you just say is that, look, at that valuation, can we really have said to be making a mistake when what did Portland end up paying for him?
5?
I think $6 million. Close to what our option was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now if it's him or Luca Orishano, the question becomes a little bit.
That's a good point. I think I'd still take Denke, but it does hurt a little bit to see Kelsey tearing it up and Denke.
Well, what we'll need to see is, did they sign him as a designated player or a U22?
U22.
Okay, so that hurts even more. Never mind. Yeah. I was going to
say, this is a near $6 million transfer fee.
Yeah.
So, well, it is.
But like
you
said, I don't think you're starting him over Denke, and I don't think there's a world
sign Denke.
Yeah, and then what? Dado
he
underneath?
Does the hold up play, and
or Shano underneath?
He does the hold up play, and Denke plays off him. He's actually big enough to do hold up play. Noonan should love that.
But yeah, I don't know who you have underneath. I mean, obviously Evander, but if Evander goes out, right?
Yeah. Matt Miazga's back at least. We can comfort ourselves with that. That's exciting, right? It's it felt underwhelming in the moment. I stood up and cheered in the bar when that happened. But it's like it was more a relief. It was like, oh, thank God. Like he is actually going to get into one of these games. This is exciting.
He is risen indeed.
Because if there was another game that he made the bench and didn't appear in, I'd start having questions as to what's going on here for real.
Speaking of the bench, we got to talk about this. 7 players once again on the bench. We don't have one more. Like, I know it's a road game, but like, we don't have one more guy, 2 more guys, ideally, which is the maximum you're allowed to bring, 9 guys. I
mean, you can only bring 5 of them in, so as long as you've got 6.
I guess. But man, maybe it just feels like we're missing something. Maybe there's a U22 coming and it makes more sense, but that's still one empty bench spot. Like,
yeah, I mean, what we're missing is Evander, Teenage Davey, Kubo, Obina Wobodo. There's a lot of dudes not playing on this team right now.
When you put it that way, it makes a little more sense.
There's where your bench is, man. Like they're struggling to get Steven Jimenez on this team.
Yeah. I want to see Jimenez get a minute.
I don't.
What do you guys think about? So you know who did play? Did get minutes. Brad Smith.
Yeah.
What do we think? Is this the upgrade? Is this an upgrade on Halsey?
Yeah, I think he's very clearly
good signing. I think very clearly yes. It's just
I think he's been. I'll say this: he knows exactly what his role is and plays his role to a T.
Yep.
And I don't feel uncomfortable with him out there. But I'm I'm kind of in the same position I was with Halsey, where I think that Halsey was appropriately rated. I don't think he was underrated or overrated. He was merely rated. I feel much the same way about Brad Smith. I think Brad Smith is properly rated. And if he plays and he gets minutes, I don't sit there and think, oh my God, we're cooked. So yeah, I think for a supplemental roster spot, I think you're doing pretty fine with that.
I like the Aussie energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he brings like good energy to the team.
He would be my pick if there was like a drinking contest on the team, even though he's 31.
Oh, 100%.
Like 100%. I feel like he would dominate.
He's the only one on the team that can put him back.
I think Nick could put him back. I believe in Nick.
I'm not sure.
I like that he played for Liverpool like 12 times. And now he's forever the Liverpool man.
Lucas Engel can really throw him back, though.
You know who I bet could throw him back is Alec Can.
You know who I bet is currently throwing them back? Alec Can.
Alec Can.
Do we... Somebody brought this up.
Are you about to say, do we need to have the goalkeepers on for a drinking contest? The answer is yes. 100%.
Obviously. I just feel like we need to have Can on to figure out, like, is he done for the year? Is he coming back? What's his situation look like?
As the only goalkeeper that hasn't been on the podcast, I have to feel like he's ducking us at this point.
It does feel a little personal.
He doesn't want to answer the tough questions from the postcast.
Trent versus Kendrick, yeah.
gotta have Mitch put us in touch.
Oh, good call.
So what do we feel about this? Like, what's the takeaway? I think that not great, but 3 points is 3 points. 4 people of the starting lineup on the bench, one working himself back into form. Reserve further commentary until we see what this looks like with a full lineup, if we ever see. Well, that's a question. Will we ever see the starting 11 of this team this year?
Yes, I think we get one game with it. Or the first time we see it is like the first round of the playoffs, and that just becomes the MLS Cup run.
I think it's definitional. At some point, you will see the starting 11 of this team.
We don't know who that is yet.
It may not be what you think it is at this point in time, but there will come a point in time where you're like, well, we haven't had the starting 11 yet. And the answer is that's the starting 11.
Dado takes Evander's job. Yeah, obviously. Everybody expects this.
It's like the whole, like, Kubo's not a midfielder. Well, sorry. He's a midfielder. And Barrial's not a wingback. Sorry.
I regret to inform you.
He's a wingback.
Govern yourself accordingly.
We will definitely see the 11. It'll just be whatever it be. My takeaway is eventually this team needs to be better. It didn't have to be yesterday.
Yeah.
No.
And it moved on, got the 3 points, and tomorrow's a new day.
Shorthanded victory. Took their foot off the gas in the second half. I think that's definitely fair to say. And yeah, look, the goal of this season is to build towards an MLS Cup run, and they're doing that. So far, so good.
Yeah. One of these days, I'd like to see him put a second goal away and make one of these games into a more comfortable victory. But again, the day for that was not Saturday.
It would be nice to eventually crush a bad team. That would be a lot of fun.
Crush a good team. I'm not picky.
I mean, the last team we crushed was a good team. Like, that's what's weird about this, is that they haven't had a full-on ass-kicking win since they beat Miami last year.
Right.
Just kick the shit out of somebody at the bottom of the table. I don't care who. Just someone. Make me feel better about this.
I'll even let you pick Columbus. Let's move over to part 2. Some fun news about a potential summer transfer. So let's take it realistic for a second. Let's treat it seriously, and let's figure out what this will actually mean for the team if this did happen. Let's do that in part 2. All right, we are back, and boy, we found out recently, Grayson, I don't know if you have the source in front of you or not, reporting
Daily
from
Mail.
The Daily Mail, which, your mileage may vary there, but that is, slightly
it is
above.
Certainly a source.
Yeah, slightly above anonymous
It is a
Twitter
website.
source that reported that FC Cincinnati has Thomas Muller's discovery rights, which you'd think would put us in the driver's seat for his eventual arrival from the Bundesliga, from Bayern Munich to Cincinnati. Could be very exciting. As we know, this is a German heritage city. They would love to have a German soccer player hero come play for their team. The question I have for you two, and maybe specifically Grayson, is should Thomas Muller show up? And let's just assume, let's use my math for a second, that this team has millions of dollars of possible flexibility. They'd be able to add him as a DP without any major outgoing move. Where would he fit in this team? What would happen if he showed up?
It's a good question. So, I think that the question comes, let's assume that they view him as an everyday starter. I think there's a world where he's not necessarily intended to be an everyday starter, that he may start big games or start situationally, but is somebody that you bring in more for like extended attacking sub minutes to maintain his health and not overtax him.
Right.
Which I don't know if that's the type of thing that he would actually be interested in, but there's an argument that that's the best use of him.
And that is his role at Bayern now.
Right. But if like,
right. You'd assume he gets to take a step up. Yes.
You'd assume that he would assume that he's going to have a more of a role in MLS than that. And, I think that if it's a back five or back three, back five, whatever you want to say.
Right.
I think that you probably move Orishano back to a wingback spot, and he plays either next to or under Denke. The formation that I really like with him is a back four.
Yeah.
Like Engel, Robinson, Miazga, Yedlin in a back four. You have Denke up top as a lone striker, and then you have Muller, Evander, and Orishano essentially behind him, with Buka and Wabodo is the midfield behind that. Although that front four, I think would have a lot of freedom to interchange. So like whether you view him as like another striker or view him as like a I think a left winger in that scenario with Orishano as the right winger.
Yeah.
I think that's a very exciting formation. I'm a little less concerned about like what that permutation as like the FOTMOB formation looks like.
Right.
Like if you get like an attacking four of Denke, Muller, Evander, and Orishano on the field at the same time, they have to it seems like it's possible. It's within human imagination to like figure out how that produces a lot of goals.
Right. It's funny, at that point, I'd be tempted to bring in Anunga just to make sure you had like more defense on the field. But yeah, I think it makes sense. Do you just sell out the defense though, Chief, and just be like, hey, we got the best center backs, and we could even do a line change. Maybe it's Hagelin and Miazga to start the game, and then it's Robinson and Hadebe to finish the game. You are going to bust your ass for 45 minutes, but then we can bring in 2 starters off the bench to replace you.
Or you have the ability, depending on like how you retain personnel, that you can have Muller in the game for as many minutes as he can offer. If he's a 60-minute player or a 70-minute player, that you're 60 minutes in this formation, and as soon as he goes off the field, in comes the third center back, and we're back to a back 3, and you can play around a little bit with differing formations. So I look at this, and I have a hard time seeing where he fits in with what this team is doing. I already have reservations about bringing in an aging player like him to a league like MLS, where his game is technically driven. This is a pacey league, and this is a strong league. And you've seen a lot of players who are otherwise very effective players over in Europe get run out of this league for being unable to keep up or do what it is that teams want to do here. If the point of this exercise is what does it look like if they bring him in?
Yeah.
I think one of either DeAndre Yedlin or Luca Orishano needs to be out of this team if that happens.
Oof.
Because okay, so you do this, where do you play Luca? Luca goes back to playing a wing back then at that point? Or
if a back 4, they both start.
It's a back 4, they both start, but if it's a back 3, there's no
I think
obvious.
Yedlin goes to the bench.
Or do you move Yedlin to the left and put Angle on the bench, and then put Orishano on the right?
Orishano's not great at defending, is what the problem is, and so you're really, really taking someone off that is you're taking, no matter which way you put Orishano on, you're becoming defensively much weaker. And I don't know how much you want Muller defending either, or Mueller, or whatever the case may be. Like, the problem is Robert Mueller is all like, for whenever we talk about him, he's the first person I think about. It would be a terrible addition to the FC Cincinnati lineup, but when I see the name written out, that's what I associate that with, and it's going to take me a second of being not focused on the Department of Justice in order to figure that out.
So a cheat for you in German, where you see an umlaut, is you can imagine, like, mentally take away the umlaut and add an E after that vowel. And that's kind of like a shortcut of how you could pronounce it. So Muller works fine if you're just reading it as a U, but it is an U with umlaut. So Mueller also kind of works. Somewhere in the middle there is probably the correct pronunciation. People will correct me, but that'll get you pretty far.
I don't respect languages that make me waste my time looking for punctuation over the letters. I think that you are insisting that the reader do more work when your language includes accent points and things like that. I don't like that. That's not for me. I'm an American. Write your letters. I don't need I don't need to figure out what the dot over it means. All right. So yeah, I don't see if you're not going to use Luca and Yedlin, or one of them's going to the bench, or somebody's going to the bench, that person probably needs to go, because Yedlin's on a big dollar figure to this team. And if you're going to be fitting in another designated player and conveniently losing out on $1 million in GAM, it's about what DeAndre Yedlin is making. So, or you can cancel Sergio Santos's contract. Like, it's there for the taking, and that solves problems too. It's just, formationally and positionally, it seems like at that point they're top heavy and somebody needs to go.
I would kind of be surprised if somebody doesn't go, whether they sign Muller or not. Like, just because you got a lot of guys on big numbers. Yeah. You got guys who we've already mentioned who are, so we got a few categories, right? We've got like Santos, who there's not going to be any market for on his salary, but doesn't provide what his salary says he should provide.
Right.
There's somebody like Baird, who has been a useful MLS attacker, isn't on like a crazy number, but is certainly on like more than he's providing this team. But somebody might be interested in.
Yeah.
And then you have players like Yedlin and Hadebe, who I think are very good and are starters on the team, or at least arguable starters on the team, who just may get, formationally pushed out.
Yeah.
Or maybe surplus to requirements, And
there's certainly a market for them.
Yeah. And so I think that, it would be a little silly for the team to not, I don't know. It just seems like there's obvious candidates either this window or next for players to move on for whatever reason, and not for reasons necessarily that are critical in every case of the player. And so I just wouldn't be surprised regardless of whether they bring in a big signing like Muller. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody, isn't on the team by the end of the second window.
Question for you two. If you knew there was a possibility of getting Muller or Mueller on this team in this season, doesn't that kind of make the Evander signing a little redundant?
No. Yeah, no.
Because what you're going to be having Mueller doing is he's going to be the guy that is making unlocking passes and making, finding the ball to the striker, getting the ball to danger.
He's not going to be so tricksy. He's not going to be so dribbly. He's not going to be I don't think he's been taking free kicks like Evander does.
Yeah.
But isn't that what you want? Isn't that what they want Evander to be doing? Don't they want him to be dribbly? Don't they want him to be
That's what I'm saying.
Right, but don't
Muller's
they want
not going to be doing that.
I know they're not, but they want Evander to be facilitating, right? Like that was the whole Lucho thing, is that what they were missing was they thought they were going to get a little less of the little tricks and more of the passing to Denke, getting the ball moved around.
I think
they can all facilitate.
Yeah, I think what you'd get with Mueller is I would ask him to lean heavily into the greatest nickname in soccer, which was the space investigator, where he would always pop up in the weirdest spaces on the field and find himself with the ball and able to have a nice clean shot on goal or lay off the perfect pass to an on-rushing attacker. I think that's where he would be best, as a sort of free-floating attacking piece and exploiting, let's say, positionally deficient defenses in Major League Soccer. I think you would have a lot to play off of with, at a minimum, Evander and Denke, but sure, throw in Orishano, and I'll say potentially Dado, but you have all of these other attacking pieces who are going to draw attention, and then you let him float and find the moment to strike. Yeah, I think that'll play. I think that'll work. And he doesn't need to distribute. He doesn't need to be a target forward. He can just wait, see the game. I mean, he's an incredibly intelligent player. He is not a crazy athletic guy. He's also a real goofball. And I think somebody who's witty and comedic has a mind that is sharp enough to be able to figure out what's going on pretty quickly. I trust him in this league. I think he would do well in this league. And I think you could deploy him in that role. The question then is, and really this topic is, how do you build the team around that? Because they had that with Lucho, a sort of free-floating attacker, but Lucho was so much more aggressive than what you will get out of Mueller. And you will have Evander and Denke. Yeah, you just have to build the rest of the team around one guy having that freedom up top.
But he'll create space.
Yes,
for Denke and Evander.
He'll draw attention. Absolutely,
he'll draw a lot of attention.
Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah, I'm not in on it. It's just I understand. Yeah, boy, here Chief hates something again. I think it's
fair to be skeptical. It's fair to be skeptical.
There have been so many players of his profile that have just not worked out.
Yeah.
And it's an MLS thing. This league is weird. And it's weird in that some skill sets that make you great in Europe make you a god over in this league. And there are others that make you just a guy, because the thing that you do, the game moves too fast for you to be the space investigator in MLS, because everyone's running at 1 billion miles an hour. Like space never happens in this league.
Yeah. I mean, this is where we'll have to put faith in Chris Albright. And let's hope and assume, I think, that this is an Albright decision and this is not an ownership decision. But then 2, like, just trust the scouting process. They'll talk to him. They'll get a sense of what he's feeling. They'll have an idea of how to deploy him. I have trust in this front office and this coaching staff that if they do pull the trigger, that it will be a positive move.
But just to put a pin on this is absolutely the player that Birding was talking about in the radio interview, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
The quote unquote like consensus top 20 player,
no doubt,
100%, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so we're all on the same page.
And for what it's worth, I do believe we have his discovery rights. I know the Daily Mail is a suspect like outlet, but like this tracks way too much. Yeah.
That's too random of a thing for them to say.
So a question maybe then for the Discord, which if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. Was Thomas Muller ever a top 20 player in his career? I think there's an argument where he was close, but I don't know, like, did he ever finish top 3 in a Ballon d'Or vote? I don't.
Well, we're asking top 20.
Right. I'm just different questions. I'm curious what's the highest he ever finished? Maybe that's my question in a Ballon d'Or vote or something along those lines. So I mean,
that's
World
a question
Cup
for the Discord.
Question for the Discord. Let's see. We got time for a couple of Patreon questions. Should we head on over to part 3? Ask a couple of questions.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Join us, shall you? All right, we are back, and we're back with your Patreon questions. That's right. For just $2 a month, you can emotionally, spiritually, and financially support the postcast. With that, you get your name in highlighter pink in the Discord, which again is free to join. Come join us. We got a really fun community building over there. It's a lot of fun, a lot of soccer discussion going on in there. So come check it out. You get your name in highlighter pink with that. If your name isn't highlighter pink and you do support us on Patreon, let me know. I can fix that for you. But then you also get to ask us a question, which we then answer on the podcast occasionally. I've got 2 food questions here. I think this would be good for us.
Real quick, hold on. Sorry.
Oh, please. You can answer the top 20 question.
So I haven't done like a full anything.
Yes, sure.
But Muller has finished as high as 6th in the Ballon d'Or voting.
Okay.
And so that was 2014 and 2015.
Okay. Yeah. So,
well, it depends on who you ask. He's either finished 5th or 6th in 2014. So
I like that. That's questionable. I know they weight the votes all weird and stuff. Yeah.
So it is at least at a point in time, you could have said he was a top. You could have made an argument that he was a top 10 player.
Okay.
Right, anyway, go on.
I will take it. Okay, I've got 2 food questions for us. These are great. MG asks, what is the best creamy whip / ice cream window in town? Oh, this always has a lot of thoughts and feelings.
On the west side, Putz's. On the east side, the Newtown Dairy Stop or the Newtown Creamy Corner.
So 100% agree on Putz's, and I think Putz's is the best in the city. But Chief, I got to tell you, Newtown changed owners recently.
Oh no.
And the ice cream is that really shitty. I always think of it as like old country buffet ice cream where it's real icy.
Oh,
it's real
no.
crispy.
Yeah, no.
They drop the cream content on it. It's not good. Decent replacement is the Creamy Whip in Mount Washington. Very good.
Yeah.
Seasonally operated. Doesn't quite fit the definition of what this person is asking for, but it is pretty damn close. So that would be my vote on the east side.
I'll tell you where I go is Mount Healthy Dairy Bar.
Ooh.
Also good. Been there before. Fantastic.
But I think Putz's is the best. There is one way out there in Mason, maybe even a little further out, that is cash only. At least they had been cash only. They were one of the few places that offered like a really good Kings Island blue ice cream, like the blueberry ice cream. And all of the change they gave you was $2 bills. I always thought that was funny.
I gotta try the Norwood Creamy Whip. I've heard good things about that, but I've not ventured over yet. So.
Kevin, are you talking about the Whip-de-Doo?
Maybe I am thinking of the Whip-de-Doo. It's been a while.
I'll have to check out Putz's, but I'm partial to Mount Healthy Dairy Bar.
You'll enjoy your Putz's experience. It's elite.
It's good. It's really good. A lot of like classic neon lighting around it too. It's good. Yeah. Then Tim Sears asks, what is the best Italian steakhouse and barbecue place in Cincinnati? We can come to a consensus.
Hold on. That's 4 questions.
3 questions.
3 questions. That's 3 questions. I see what you're trying to do here. I will humor you though. What are the 3 categories?
Italian, steakhouse, and barbecue.
So Italian, my favorite, and I know there are probably better Italian restaurants than this. Like Nicola's is definitely better than this. I'm partial to Biagio's in Clifton over in Ludlow. Good spot, good date spot. The guy that runs it is a former pasta chef. He used to cook at the waterfront until he had a fight with Jeff Ruby, which is how most good restaurants start in Cincinnati.
I trust him now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, just that like this person is talented. Why don't you still work for Mr. Ruby? Well, you know, so
one thing led to another.
Yeah. Biagio's is my pick there. And look, it's lame. It's traditional. The Precinct is the best steak in town. Go to the Precinct and not one of the other 2 places, because the Precinct, you still get your salad and your potato with the steak. It's not a la carte like it is at the other places. The bar at the Precinct is a vastly superior dining experience than the actual dining room at the Precinct. So request seating at the bar if you're getting reservations.
I like
it. You got a barbecue place?
Barbecue. I'm not a big barbecue person. Like, I don't even know what's good anymore in the barbecue space. Like, is Burbank still around?
Yeah.
Like your barbecue answer could be wings if you wanted to be funny like that. So like Knockback Nats or the Oak.
The Oak or ML Dudes. Yeah, the barbecue is fine there. Like the wings are fine there. I don't know where like a good spot to get barbecue is though. Food. Most of the barbecue I've eaten recently has been from food trucks, like a good food truck barbecue place.
So on Italian, I'm gonna cancel out like any place that's trendy or like high end. So like, let's throw out like places that are newer, like Carmelo's in Covington. Throw out Nicola's, throw out Soto, throw out Pepe Dolores. I think you get a real good meal at Ferrari's Little Italy.
Ferrari's is really good. Ferrari's is fantastic, actually. That's a good answer.
Steak Precinct. Yep. With Chief on the Precinct, and especially with Chief on, don't go to the other places. Although I am a big fan of the new Ruby's space downtown, especially the front bar area. It's just like it's a one of a kind in this town as far as like the atmosphere and what you get. Barbecue, I'm not a connoisseur. Like I'm kind of basic. I do love my Eli's, but
yeah.
I'm going to throw a plug for a place that's walkable from TQL Stadium. I've been really impressed and happy with my meals at Bee's Barbecue.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. I've heard good things.
It's like the only place I've had like a brisket that was worth mentioning in town. I'm not saying you got to do a brisket to be good, but it is the only place that I've ordered it and thought, well, there's a reason I don't usually order brisket places.
Barbecue, I'll throw out Just Queuing in East Walnut Hills. I've liked their stuff and they're still around, which is a good sign.
What was the place in Mount Healthy back in the day? Goodies. That used to be pretty good. Like in college, it's near College Hill. Like it was a pretty good spot if I remember correctly. I haven't been there in like 20 years though.
Italian. I mean, everything everybody mentioned is great. I'll just mention probably runs afoul of Grayson's rules here, but I liked my meal.
Rule, not your rule.
Well, I was going to say I like my meal at Forno, which is pretty good over there on the east side. Steak. So I got to tell you, as a bug lands on me and freaks me out, I am in the market for a better steak place. My last experience at the precinct, not great. I was kind of disappointed in the steak. The salad was not great. It was overdressed, which was a whole thing. The waiter was all over the place with like what was available and what wasn't available. Like had to come back to the table like 2 or 3 times to say like, oh yeah, sorry, that side isn't available. Came back, no, it is, and then came back, oh, we burnt it, and that was the last one, so it isn't available. It's just weird. It's weird vibes. So I'm in the market for a new steak place. So
I got a question about I got 2 questions.
Please.
Or 1 question with 2 parts. Have you guys been to Walt's Hitching Post?
I have not. I've heard really, really good things though.
I've heard really good things.
Yes.
About Walt's.
And it is really good. And I regret not thinking about it. Yeah. Okay. That's really good. It's really, really good.
And what are your guys' thoughts on the Pine Club?
Like it a lot. I'm a big fan. It would be my place. It would be my place to tell Kevin to go to if like, okay, you said that you need a new place for steak. The Pine Club would be my second place to send you.
I'll check it out.
The other place that's really, really good is Tony's. That's up in Westchester, I want to say, or Tony's of, I forget where Tony's is at, but Tony's is it's the suburban equivalent of Jeff Ruby's. It's pretty damn good.
I feel good about these answers. The thing that I don't want to hear from anybody is, well, I can make a better steak at home.
No, that's false. You're lying.
I don't care.
I go to steakhouses for the steakhouse experience, the fine dining experience.
I go to have somebody else do it.
Yeah.
Like I will say, I make a mean steak. I like my steak. So
I also make a good steak at home.
Right.
But like that's a antisocial answer. I'm sorry. Be part of your community.
It is funny to say like I can make this food, so I'm never going to eat it out. It does feel like, yeah, like I can make a chicken sandwich as well. Forbidding myself from eating chicken sandwiches or burgers.
You can make a good steak, but can you make a good steak, a great cocktail, great Brussels sprouts, great mac and cheese, great potatoes, and also sort of great slice of carrot cake for dessert? And if you can't do all of those, then I'm sorry, you're not offering the same experience that you get at the precinct.
And you don't have to clean up anything. You don't have to, clear your own table. You don't have to do the dishes. You don't have to. Yeah. Believe me, there's reasons to do it. But yeah, there we go. Chief, I am staring down a very large spider that is inching closer and closer to me. So please get us out of here so I can go back inside.
Fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.